to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Bajo.
Bajo, I know how much you love games where you get to walk around and look at things, so I can't wait to discuss this week's Gone Home with you.
Yes, or as I like to call it, a snooping simulator.
So, it's the first day of school, and there I am, introducing myself to the class. And I say that I just moved into the house on Arbor Hill.
Also this week, things get a bit chilly in Lost Planet 3.
God damn, it's cold.
And we see how Diablo 3 plays on console.
Plus, we have more learnings from Dave Callan and a new tiny power. But first, can you guess the game for this week? Hex, your news awaits you.
Okay. Ubisoft has announced that they're partnering with Sony Pictures and New Regency Films to turn the upcoming Watch Dogs game into a film. No further details were given in regards to a possible cast, crew, or release date. In other Ubisoft film news, it's been revealed that screenwriter Scott Frank is currently rewriting the Assassin's Creed film. Frank was responsible for writing Minority Report, Get Shorty, and The Wolverine. The Assassin's Creed film, which will star Michael Fassbender, is slated for a 2015 cinema release. A Japanese gamer who goes by the alias Kiroko has set a new world record time for Tetris line racing. In line racing, players attempt to clear 40 lines in the fastest possible time. Kiroko became the first person to achieve this feat in under 20 seconds, posting a blistering 19.68 second time. The footage you're watching is happening in real time and has not been sped up. Steve Ballmer has announced that he will be retiring from his position as Microsoft CEO within the next 12 months and will step down once a replacement has been found. The 57-year-old executive cited the need for a CEO who can be there for the long term to oversee Microsoft's recent transformation into a devices and services company. Microsoft's stock value rose almost 10% following the announcement.
Good game.
When the rumours of a console version of Diablo surfaced a while back, many of us wondered if this click 'em up could be done justice with a gamepad. But Blizzard have done it.
Team rollout.
I become more powerful.
Go, 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 go.
Oh, hell yeah!
Across the beam.
It's like a laser light show.
We are the best adventurers ever.
I've like used up all my mana. There are a few new features to the console version. We've read it's based on patch 1.0.7, but taking some ideas from 1.0.8 as well. This mostly appears to include skill adjustments and better combat notifications. The view is also slightly zoomed in.
Visually, I think it holds up pretty good, and it's interesting how they've adjusted the difficulty for console. Monster density has been tweaked, and now you can select from 3 difficulties right from the start of the game, unlocking the rest at level 10. They added a much welcome monster power difficulty system to the PC version after launch, and from what we can tell, this is based more or less on that system.
Yeah, plus hard is actually hard, which is good.
Need help. Help me.
As much as we appreciate Diablo 3 on PC for sticking to its replay through on harder difficulties model, that first playthrough was super easy. And, you know, for people who don't like to replay games, they were probably left feeling a little bit underwhelmed.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see our full review of the PC version of Diablo 3 on our website if you wish, but we haven't spent as much time with this console version, in fairness. Hex, I thought they did a really good job with the controls for the gamepad, though. Everything targets the way a console game should, and I was surprised with how well abilities switch targets in a fight. And I especially liked how you can hold down a stick now and see exactly where you are in the battle by that big gleaming light.
Yeah, that's actually really good, isn't it? Also, you can do quick evades with the stick, which feels natural.
Combat roll.
And the user interface redesign is functional and responsive.
You can also play this Diablo offline, no error 37s here, Hex. And that's a pretty big deal. Couch gaming.
Here's this guy.
I feel like we're not being completely focused as a team. I think the co-op all works quite well, and there's something about sitting on the couch and playing this with 3 other friends that makes it feel a bit like an ultimate alliance game.
Imagine us walking along as proper adventurers to a bystander. We're like, hey, everyone, help!
The downside to local co-op is that you're all sharing one screen, and I'm the kind of gamer that likes to really take my time, go over all my gear, compare stuff, these boots, those boots, make sure I've got everything set, and, you know, I'm holding up the group if I do that here.
There's a bit of menu fighting. Just pick your boots.
So just like me.
Oh!
I'm quite handsome.
Very relaxed.
I've got swagger.
At least on PC, if someone is mucking around in their menus, they just get left behind.
All right, I think we should go top. No, left.
I come right.
No, there's nothing right.
There's something up here.
No, it's left.
No, up here.
Right.
Look at the map. Okay, it's up. We're all wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a solution, to be honest. I don't think there is a better way to do it. And maybe this is just a small price to pay for same-screen Diablo 3.
I also thought it was quite clever that if someone goes AFK, the AI just takes over or they get teleported, and that's really important when you're locked to that view. Another thing worth mentioning is that there's no auction house. You can still trade gear, and you'll be doing that a lot, especially in local co-op, as everyone just grabs what they can. But I actually didn't mind this. It was nice going in knowing that I couldn't just go online and buy whatever I wanted from an auction house. What's there is there, you just grab what you can.
Yeah, it kind of adds a nice air of mystery and excitement each time you log in.
There are a few other little tweaks here and there, but I really enjoyed playing this with a gamepad, and I think it's a solid alternative for those who aren't PC gamers.
All right, now it's time for episode 2 of Tiny Power.
Wake up, Megan, the dead have risen!
Did you get the wipes?
This is gonna be awesome! I spent our whole baby bonus on weapons over the internet.
That's the boy.
I got Conan's sword, Lady Hawk's crossbow, that thing from Krull. Hey, Megan, where's my big blue zombie bag?
I put it in the garage. I needed room for the bouncy buggly boo.
Balls. Okay, I'm borrowing your hockey stick, honey. All right, let's axe some Evan Undead!
What? You can't just run off and kill zombies. We need to get Lewis to safety.
But I've been waiting for this day my whole life.
You get him to sleep while I make some formula.
Megan, you should be doing that. You're the woman.
What?
Gillius, run! Take your chances with the zombies! Go!
In dwarven society, the
Bad news.
rodents
That's gonna be
balls.
hanging out.
Good game.
Dear Katie, so much has changed, even just since you've been away. We moved into this house. It doesn't feel real. When you live in one place your whole life, your next door neighbor is kind of like your default friend. And Daniel only got weirder over the years.
Where are you?
She's really going to be gone. Just gone.
We've had some wonderful hits and terrible misses when it comes to point-and-click walk-em-ups, as you call them, Bajo. But I'm glad they're out there and getting made, because some of them can be really interesting and worthwhile experiences. Gone Home is a game that was proving to be quite divisive online, so I was really excited to check it out.
Me too, apprehensively. As soon as I appeared at the front door of this house, I thought, okay, this is going to be another Dear Esther, Anna Bientolete arty experience that I'm not going to enjoy. And so I promptly started to not take it very seriously.
Drop the bass.
Putting things in the drawer is what I like to do. I like to put the things in the drawer for me and you.
And close.
Yeah, I worry what you would get up to if left alone in someone's house, Bajo.
But as soon as I started poking around and interacting with objects, I got that spine-tingly feeling on the back of my neck, signaling danger.
You managed to work out from recorded phone messages and items you find around you that you're playing as Caitlin Greenbrier and you've just returned to your family home after a year of travelling overseas. There is an immediate air of uneasiness. It's dark, it's pouring with rain, thunder crashes, and there's a note pinned to the front door.
Yes, the note is from Sam, who appears to be either your brother or your sister. It seems urgent and rushed. Your sibling has left and won't tell you why, and begs you not to try and find them. It creates enough of a mystery for you to want to get into the house and start investigating. So you start searching for a key in all the usual places.
Once you're able to let yourself in, the house is dark, but you know, it's late, maybe everyone's just asleep. And thankfully this isn't a cheesy horror film, so all the light switches do work. So you can start poking around for clues that could tell you a little bit more about your family and what happened to your, sister.
You can just about interact with every single object in the house, and no item has been thoughtlessly placed. Caitlin is a member of this family, but as a player, you're acting as detective, trying to piece together who these people are, what they do, and what their relationships with each other are like.
Some of the items are quite mundane. They're simply there just to paint a picture of a normal family household. Everything from ice cream in the freezer to tampons in the bathroom cupboard. But rifling through drawers or searching under couches all provide little clues for you to start piecing together what happened here.
They built suspense really well. With every crack of thunder, I whipped around and whimpered. Horror games have taught us to look for all the signs, and I couldn't help but be reminded of...
Slender Man.
Yeah, Slender Man.
I know this isn't a Slendy game, but this whole house really does call back to Slender Man 2, doesn't it? Really? Ugh, I was so jumpy. I even nervously went back and closed the front door when I realized I'd left it open just in case. And then I saw a light flickering down the hall. Someone had left the TV on.
They've nailed the time period as well. You can tell by looking at the tag on the luggage at the start that it's 1995, and all the objects in the house reflect that.
See, I actually missed that luggage tag at the beginning, so I had no idea this was set in the 90s until I started exploring the lounge room. CRT TV, I thought, well, it could just be really old, but then I picked up the TV guide and saw the X-Files was highlighted. And then I was like, okay, and it all became really obvious. VHS tapes lying around.
That magic eye poster in Sam's bedroom? I haven't seen those in years.
Yeah, and they work too, like you can magic eye them.
It's a shark!
Sam's bedroom is definitely the most telling, and I think I spent the most time there.
Yeah, the lounge room is definitely alarming because there's that creepy weather warning, and books on poltergeists lying around, and someone's clearly interested in the supernatural. There's more evidence of that later too, but Sam's note lets you know something has happened to her, and you need to figure out what. So finally arriving in her bedroom feels like a critical moment where you might finally uncover the truth.
And it just screams of personality, doesn't it? It almost feels a bit weird and voyeuristic rifling through all of these personal belongings, but it also tells you so much about who she is and the experiences she's had, crumpled up notes between school friends. And there's just so much about this room that just says teenage girl, and it's almost kind of Judy Blume and, I don't know, sacred in a way.
Certain objects in the game will trigger spoken journal entries from Sam that she specifically left for you that help you to unravel more of the story as you progress.
You are so lucky you finished high school before we moved into this house. So, it's the first day of school, and there I am, introducing myself to the class.
And there are some cool cassette tapes that provide an appropriate backing track to the experience you have in each location. And once again, I like that everything's there for a reason. It's an intriguing story, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they do a really good job of setting up that sinister presence, but it's also so engaging because there's so many little details and stories to sift through. I really loved how the game will retroactively reference previous clues you've come across, explaining them further with each new object that you examine. For example, the first hint you have that there's an author in the family is this magazine in the bathroom, but further items in the father's office, correspondence with the editor, and other clues around the house tell a whole story of his writing career. The people in this house feel real, and you genuinely want to find out more about them.
Yeah, I did feel like that I was invading their privacy a little, and you know, we can't really talk much more about the story without spoiling anything. Overall, I was pleasantly surprised by this. Patience did get the better of me at one point, and I got a bit frustrated at the way the game would send me all over the house, to the top floor and then to the basement. And at one point I was examining toilet paper going, is this a clue? And I just got a bit over it.
Yeah, but then you find, you know, a secret passage or a locked door, and there's no way I'm not finding out what's behind there. I really enjoyed this. It kind of sets itself up to be one thing and then sends you on quite a few different paths instead. I just really enjoyed uncovering this mystery. It was great storytelling, I thought. I'm giving it 7.5.
Yeah, I thought the writing and the voice acting was actually quite beautiful, and I appreciated the high-resolution textures and the attention to detail in the environment as well. But at the end of the day, I just think the price point is way too high for a game like this. So for me, it's 6.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
And now we adjourn to Dave Callan's study as he lays down the law.
Hello, I'm Dave. I have a lot of very important information to impart to you. You can tell because of the exclamation point above my head. Warcraft, where on screen you are a powerful, magnificently fit hero with your inventory super organized, and in real life you are bloated, pale, jacked up on energy drinks in a messy room, surrounded by bottles of your own wee. So, what keeps me awake at night is, where is the craft? I see a lot of war, but nobody doing any macrame, or dare I say it, haberdashery. Also, what is this war about? Seeing lots of humans hating on orcs. Why? Is it all one big misunderstanding?
The king has appointed you as regent over a small parcel of land.
Well, it all began with problems between humans and orcs in the very first Warcraft game. They were two different races that clearly just didn't get along.
The kingdom of Azeroth was a prosperous one. The humans who dwelled there turned the land into a paradise. Then came the orcish hordes.
Though it didn't help that the orcs were corrupted by the Burning Legion, who were annoyed at something that happened 10,000 years ago to become the bloodthirsty horde hell-bent on the annihilation of humans.
Lead your people to their destinies.
We don't know much about the Burning Legion. All we know is they hold massive grudges, they were Azeroth original gangsta, and they are bad to have anywhere near a thatched roof. However, they are handy to have around if you need to cook a crumpet.
His blood is mine, as is your whole misbegotten race.
When it comes down to it, you could consider this simply a war about land rights. One set of beings believe they are more rightfully deserving of Azeroth than all the others, and this just splinters down into smaller factions and smaller parcels of land. Of course, a lot of real-life war boils down to something similar. However, you must admit it's a lot more fun with mana potions and fetch quests. Speaking of which, did you manage to bring me those 10 turtle shells? I will level you up as soon as you've finished weeing in that bottle.
Thanks, Dave. Hex, I have some fond memories of the first Lost Planet game, shooting big giant aliens in their soft weak spots for maximum damage. Those were the days.
Yeah, but the second one went for more of a co-op approach, and personally I thought it was a big pile of grindy rubbish. But maybe it'll be third time's a charm for this series.
Or maybe we'll get a frosty reception.
Because it's an ice planet.
This is a planet ice, everyone.
Very good.
Ice is pretty cold.
Now, before we get too stuck into the review, I had one immediate reaction when I started playing this. This is undeniably a Western game, and I only mention that because Lost Planet has always been really distinctly Japanese, albeit aimed at a Western audience.
Yeah, it certainly has a different feel to it, doesn't it? The first two games were developed in-house at Capcom, but this one is made by Spark Unlimited, who've made such gems as Turning Point Fall of Liberty and Legendary, which actually weren't gems at all.
Yeah, it's not a great track record, is it? But we're not here to judge them on their past, Badge. Speaking of the past, though, Lost Planet 3 is a prequel taking place on EDM 3 years before the first game in the planet's very first colony.
And not only is it a prequel, but it's also told through flashback by part-time bearded Nicolas Cage impersonator Jim. We first meet him as an old man crushed by a rock. So as you do when you're dying under a rock, Jim begins to tell his life story.
You know, back on Earth, my father believed you had to confess your sins.
Flashback to a much younger, brighter bearded Jim who's just had a baby with his wife on Earth. And what better way to support your family than by signing up for a stint of off-world mining on a newly colonized, extremely dangerous planet?
Yes, I thought it felt a bit like Deadliest Catch, but with aliens and mechs. There's all sorts of rough and tumble men with beards, working long shifts with deadly machinery and cold, harsh conditions, all to earn an honest dollar.
Sir, I'm here to work. All I need to know is how a man can earn some credits around here.
And it's a nicely told story. The characters feel quite human and relatable, which is pretty rare for a sci-fi game. For example, I liked how Jim and his wife sent each other little video messages, and both of them seem to be kind of losing their minds a bit spending so much time apart.
Today, I spent the better part of 20 minutes looking for a hat. that I was wearing. This week, I found my keys in the door, on the outside, of course, my slippers in the shower, and my toothbrush in the refrigerator.
I'm glad they're developing this side of the game a bit more, and there's some nice personal touches too. Like how he's got a photo of her permanently taped up in the cockpit of his mech, or how she sends you a bunch of music for you to listen to while you wander around in your rig.
Oh, hey, I thought you might need some music up there to keep you sane, keep you thinking of home, so there's a playlist for me attached to this message.
Ah, the ancient art of the mixtape.
And it's a good thing to have it too, because you spend a lot of time wandering around in this almost open world. You have a main base of operations, and from there you can jump into your rig and head out into the cold, harsh environment. The rig isn't really designed for combat, so mostly you use it just to get around.
I found some of the early missions a little bit tedious. Though, in saying that, I think that might have been the point, since they give you the vibe of actually being an ordinary guy on a job rather than some alien-slaying space marine.
And you're also working for the Nevet Corporation, which fans of the series will remember from the first game as being the tyrannical villains. So it does get more interesting once the story progresses and the conspiracies unfold.
You didn't come here to ask questions. But believe me, James, this place has secrets.
Yeah, and while the world is fairly open hub, there's only one main story mission to follow at a time. And most areas you're not supposed to go are shut off, so you don't get too far off track. But there are plenty of side quests and optional missions that give you a good sense of freedom.
And you're usually free to jump out of your rig at any time and go exploring. You'll often find specialised components or some extra T-energy off the beaten track, which you can spend on upgrading your rig and buying new gear.
Good. That upgrade's a must. That ought to tone down your recoil quite a bit.
T-energy is also currency now, so there's no more of that constantly freezing to death like in the first game.
Yeah, and it's a much closer over-the-shoulder third-person perspective than in previous games, which I think many people will like. Plus, when you're on foot, it's almost got a Dead Space kind of horror vibe to it. Although you do have a fairly generous amount of regenerating health, so it's not as scary.
Yeah, it's a little easy, isn't it? Also, I got a bit sick of killing these little guys. Small swarming enemies are the bane of my video game existence, Hex. And it might feel like a weird thing to criticize, but small, fast-moving enemies can get a bit annoying, and there's just so many of them.
Yeah, the planet's littered with those pesky acrid things, as well as a few familiar foes from previous games. Of course, the huge bosses as well. Fighting them on foot was exciting when you get the chance, but fighting them in the rig is a bit disappointing. I mean, those fights are essentially a series of quick-time events, and in one boss fight you can't even move.
Yeah, it would have been nice if the rig versus monster combat was a bit more involved rather than just block, grab, drill, repeat. But it is strangely satisfying using a big drill on giant aliens. I liked the look of the world too. They nailed that gritty sci-fi feel, and I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this campaign.
Yeah, I think the focus on story really served this game much better than that grindy co-op of Lost Planet 2.
Although it can be done well both ways, as we saw with Dead Space 3 earlier this year. We did have limited access to the multiplayer. We reviewed this pre-release, so we weren't able to find a lot of games, but we did try out the 3 versus 3 wave mode. 2 teams fight off a few ways of acrid cooperatively, and then eventually end up in a final fight against each other for some territory. It's an interesting spin on a wave mode, and the matches I played were pretty fun. And I do love any game that lets me grapple around the place. Although there was only one type of acrid that ever showed up, which seemed like a missed opportunity. It would have been nice to see some of the bigger enemies make an appearance. But maybe we just aren't deep enough into it yet.
Yeah, but there seem to be quite a few unlocks and a fairly big progression sphere to work your way through, so it could be a fairly decent multiplayer offering. What are your final thoughts?
Well, I think there's a lot to like here. I think it's a step up from the last game, and I'm just happy to be playing Nicolas Cage, so I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
It's a 7 from me. Bearded Nicolas Cage should be in more games.
He should be more games.
Let me help. Let me talk to my boss, Braddock.
Silence! Good game.
So, did you guess the game for this week? It was the X-Files game. Released in 1998 at the height of the X-Files fandemonium, you played as rookie agent Craig Wilmore, who was on the hunt for missing agents Mulder and Scully.
What case were they working on?
I'm not quite sure.
A point-and-click adventure using full-motion video, you were armed with the latest in technology, an Apple Newton. And it's our Guess the Game because of the X-Files reference in this week's Gone Home.
Next week, we rummage around in the bottom drawer, untangle some cables, pull out the PlayStation Vita, find the charge cable, charge it up, update the firmware, and check out Killzone Mercenary.
Money can be a fickle mistress. It's every man for himself. Get rich or die trying.
And it's not just war, it's Total War, Rome style, and Total War Rome 2.
More gangster
So
style.
it was, you know.
Rome may have raised me, trained me, but my loyalty is to my people.
And it's a busy week over on Spawn Point this weekend as we have a look at Flashback and Rayman Legends.
Till next time, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
Bajo out. You know, the first time I was left alone in my house, first thing I did was, I was a little kid, I ran up to the light switch and I just flicked it on and off about 30 times. Because I was never allowed to do it.
Really?
Yeah. It was heaven.
I was big into fort building with dining room chairs. I would make like a maze and then crawl through the underneath. And there would be ramps, multi-level.
Yeah.
Gotta make your own fun.
Intricate mazes. I made potions from all the stuff I could find in the house, like potions and
I did that too.
Like toothpaste.
Yeah, it's really dangerous though. You can poison people that way.
Yeah.